Hey minions, it's Noobie here, and I've got another cast for you, and it's going to be a P versus Z on Shakuras Plateau. Yeah. Those of you who don't know, you can't spawn here and here, so when you see me scout, what am I talking about? Introduce the players. So yeah, we've got me, the newbie, spawning as the red Protoss up in the top right, and my opponent is hiatus. Spawning as the blue Zerg down in the bottom left. As I said before, Shakuras Plateau, so you can't spawn uh, close positions by ground, but you can. Well, it's not really close positions by air, but yeah. So never scout opposite by ground. I've seen people do it, and it just makes me face palm every time I see it done, because you can't spawn here. So scouting. Where am I scouting first? Scouting opposite first. Don't know why, just preference. It's not really a preference really, it's just what I chose to do this time. So not looking like any early pull shenanigans from my opponent at the moment. Still getting those drones, getting supply up to 14. Yeah, I love that new feature. So good. So yeah, me scouting first straight away, sending my probe back down there to block that expansion, because that will annoy the hell out of my Zerg opponent. But in the meantime, just a usual 12 gate 14 gas. Nothing unstandard about that, but my Zerg, I was going to say my Zerg colleague, is not scouting yet, so he's not scouted at all. He doesn't even know where I am, honestly. So yeah, just dropping that pylon down before my probe gets killed. Obviously you see he's taking a little bit of damage there. Send him at the tower so I can see what's up. This is lazy scouting from my Zerg guy here. My Zerg, the Zerg guy, just sending that overlord over. If I was proxying him, he would never know about it. So always make sure you send out that drone scout. I'm not sure when the best time to scout is, but I've played Zerg a little bit, but usually I would extractor trick and use that same drone to then go and scout. So, but I've no idea when the actual scouting time is for Zerg at all. So obviously this pylon is stopping his expansion at the moment, kind of limiting his options, but his pool's almost done, so you just get a couple of lings out and then job's a good one. Getting that Zealot out to plug the gap right here, always a good idea. Sometimes I'll be risky and I'll not do it, and I've regretted it every time I've done it, because one ling will just go, hey, what's up guys, and he'll just come in, run about and get the whole scout off and whatnot. Always remember to put hold position on as well, because I've done that before. The dudes just come in and seen all my shit. So getting a pylon up at the back, an early third pylon actually, come to think of it. Very early third pylon. And it's to hide my Stargate. Oh yeah, opening 1 gate Stargate. Now I've been well, I don't say I wouldn't say criticized, because that's not really the right word, but I've had comment about my 1 gate into etc builds, saying that they are extremely risky. Like for example, going 1 gate into Robo, or 1 gate into Stargate, or 1 gate into Twilight Council. I like to do it quite a lot to get the tech up just that little bit earlier, as I feel that at this stage, if he was to run across the map with 8 lings, I could hold it. So I only need 1 gate to hold that. If he was roach busted me, then I was going to die anyway, so anyway, just throwing down that second and third gateway. So we're looking at a 3 gate Stargate play, which I've used quite a lot against Zerg, to getting quite a lot of success out of it as well. The only times it doesn't work is when the Zerg goes a Spinishiwa type build and gets a bunch of queens. By a bunch I mean like 3 or 4 queens, because I tend to only get 2 Void Rays and leave it at that, because it forces your Zerg into getting some spore crawlers that they don't really need, which then those drones could have been units, or you know what I mean. So it's a good strat. My warp tech is already up, so I've got my 3 gates and my first Void Ray is almost done. Just queuing up a second because I'm lazy like that. Let's have a look at the production tab. We've got a first queen on the way, no, a second queen on the way, third queen on the way. Wow, getting up a couple of spine colours, maybe a bit needlessly, maybe he's just scared of a little bit of pressure. I wouldn't suggest putting your spine crawlers out in the open like this though. You want to hug your hatchery with them so that they can't be surrounded by zealots very easily. But he's moving them down here anyway just to pop them, like I say, right next to here, so that's quite a good position for them there, but it does leave room for me to just run around the outside with some stalkers and harass the mineral line, but we'll see if that comes into play. Currently no vision for my opponent yet, he has no idea what I'm doing, only just now that Overlord is on its way over. Can't get his scout off at all, so he's playing completely blind right now, whereas I'm getting my proxy pilot now ready to make a slight push, because he's not scouted out for proxies or anything. He should be more active with these lings than he is. He had 3 lings sat at the tower for quite a bit. But now we see I'm just starting to mass up just a few sentries and a few stalkers. Just a mix of ground units with my 3 voidrays, my 2 voidrays, sorry, learn to count. Now this was a huge kick in my fucking groin. I always do this, I need to learn not to do it. I hotkey my army and my scouting probe to key number 2 to start with. And then I go and I move my army and my scouting probe comes all the way across the map, because he's an absolute douchebag and he can't think for himself, whereas it would have been handy to get a low ground pylon in, but as it stands he got sniped by some zerglings and I'm not too happy about that. But he does see that let's have a look at the units, he does see it's covered, so he's getting more zerglings. He's only got 3 lings and 3 queens at the moment, but this will help him out quite a bit. I mean, the 2 queens will take out. Decided, oh, kill the thing, kill it! I've seen a lot of lings, so I decided to force field off because he can surround us and probably kill it with the amount of lings that he has. But it's at this point I see a ton of queens and I'm thinking, oh no! But again, just walling off from these guys while I try and decide, right, what am I going to do? Should I retreat? Should I attack? Who knows? Maybe he thinks that, yeah, maybe I didn't get a pylon up before he killed that, but nope. Just warping at another 3 zealots to tank the damage from all of these lings. I'm hoping that he's going to poke down and I can force field at the top of the ramp just to catch some of them off. Ooh, he's just poking it there, and a very cautious me. Usually I would throw down one just in case, but I'm not wasting any of that energy. But this is where it was genius here. Let me go back just a little bit here. A little bit I said, not all the way. 10 minutes enough? Yeah, now this is where I think, he's got all these queens down here, okay, so these queens are going to help annihilate this army, whereas as it stands, I could take the lings by themselves. So I get a bunch more zealots out. As you see, I've got a lot of energy, so I've got a lot of force fields saved up. Now this is the genius. This right here, I send my voidrays up into the main, because I have figured most of if not all of his queens are down there, but he does have 1 queen here, but the mere presence of my voidrays is forcing all of his queens away from his natural, so that is leaving defences here really quite weak. So effectively I'm sacking both of these units right now, whereas I send in my army there and there, boom, force fields blocking off any incoming reinforcements from the top expansion, but at the same time also blocking all of the queens. So I am basically now free to take out this expansion because he's got no units. He's never going to be able to reinforce it fast enough. I mean, he's got some lings and some roaches, but they're all coming out at different times. And they're just getting instantly surrounded. They're still using these force fields to throw out these units, keeping those units out of the fight. And so with this small handful of units, I'm able to take out this expansion. Still relentless with these force fields, keeping everything at bay. Killing off this expansion and backing out just a tad. But then I figure I'll see what he's got, and when he comes out I see he's only got a handful of roaches and a few queens, so I decide to keep at it. Just focusing down these roaches. He's got some transfuses going off, but it's just not enough. I've got too many stalkers, the damage is just insane. Tried to catch those units there, but it didn't quite work out that way. But in the meantime, I have walled off, and there we go. Force fields win again. He's a bit upset, and he leaves the game. But I think what I did there was, I'm not gonna lie, I was impressed with myself. You know what? I'll sack 2 Void Rays. It's a big investment, because if that push didn't work, yeah, maybe it was a bit risky, or if he'd only brought 2 queens up, perhaps. But I was lucky. He got 2 queens out. He got all of his queens up to take care of 2 Void Rays, which I was in turn able to force field out, which made me able to kill the spine crawlers, because if you've got that many queens, it's easy to transfuse them, and then they just become absolute powerhouses. So my plan originally was just to kill this expansion, maybe back out a bit, depending on how it goes, but then he came down with just a small handful of units, which I was able to just kill, basically, and he tapped out. He had enough of, apparently, the Imba force fields of Protoss, but it's not the force field, it's the guy controlling them, I'm afraid, and I'll be honest, it was his own fault. He shouldn't have taken all 4 queens up to deal with 2 Void Rays. 2 queens would have been enough to transfuse. He had 1 queen there, bring up 1 queen, they transfuse each other, jobs are good in. He still would have had 3 queens down here, plus a 4th on the way if he wanted it, and he would have been fine, sweet as a nut, and I would have been struggling. But another thing I did was I always pylon off here, because if he does go for a run by for a counter, then he's not going to be able to just run straight into my main. It buys me a little bit of time to get a warp in a Zealots, perhaps. The only thing, the downside to that, is it makes it very difficult for me to expand whilst attacking. As you see, my minerals are, whoa, 1.5, that's a lot. But so I decided to spend that on some Phoenix. I didn't actually get any Phoenix out onto the map, but I figured get some Phoenix, I could pick up the queens, pick up some roaches, make the fight a little bit better. But yeah, if I don't pylon that off, I should maybe stop piling that off, use that 100 energy, mineral, sorry, to get 1 Zealot, and then that makes me the ability for my probe to get through to expand. Because usually I would set up my proxy pylon and then send that scouting probe back to then build this whilst warping in 1 Zealot to kill this pylon, but obviously my scout got killed because I'm a hotkey noob. But yeah, I'm kind of rambling on a bit actually. The game ended like 2 minutes ago. What am I all about? Taking up your valuable time, so I do apologise for that, but yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next cast.